Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new live stream. Hope you're all having a good day. Before I start, someone in the chat clarify that the mic is okay and I'm not sounding robotic. Is the mic okay, guys? Just let me know quickly, please. I don't want to waste my time waffling, before and then have to do all of it. It's good. All right, thank you very much, Mugen. Cookie, good to see you, buddy. Legend, Brian, Jason, Casper, good to see you as well, my friend. I'm okay, good to see you. Soulflex, good to see you as well. Delario, good to see you, buddy. Khalid, how you doing, my friend? Agri, Tony, Jamie, good to see you as well. Hope you're having a good day today. The market is green today, and there is some positive news that's come out recently. But the most positive thing is, I don't know if it will continue on to tomorrow, but Nasdaq and the S&P, more specifically Nasdaq, the futures opened up positive. He opened up on a bounce. Now he has done this plenty of times in the past, and ultimately, when the futures does open, it doesn't mean that it's going to continue to pump. It could just be a little bounce, and then maybe they'll sell off again. We don't know 100%. We'll find out tomorrow when the market opens. But the overall picture is bullish. Global liquidity is obviously going up as the dollar is very likely to have a small bounce and then continue lower. As the dollar goes lower, global liquidity normally goes up. So we are seeing a short-term bounce on the dollar, but nothing goes down forever. You are going to have little short-term bounces, and then from those bounces, you could potentially go down lower, which is very likely that what we will see with the dollar. So as the dollar goes down, global liquidity goes up, which is very bullish for risk assets. At the moment, you guys know gold is at all-time highs, meaning that a lot of the bigger players, they are currently risk off, mainly because of the uncertainty of the tariffs. A lot of people are concerned about inflation risk, and these guys, if they can avoid risk and go and get 3-4% yield somewhere, they'd rather just do that, to be honest with you. They're not going to sit around and risk their portfolio going down 5%, 10%, because they play with billions or millions or whatever. For us, we play with 10k, 20k, 30k. For them, they play with millions. 5-10% is a lot for them. So yeah, I mean, we have to see how the market opens tomorrow. At the moment, Bitcoin's kind of stagnant. You're seeing specific altcoins pump here and there. Ort's having a good day. Rio's pumping today. The rest of them are kind of stagnant. But, this is what happens when the market's boring. But there is some positive news, though. In terms of, if you look at the White House, there's rumors that U.S. White House says that gold, they may swap their gold reserves or sell their gold reserves to basically purchase Bitcoin. If this does happen, I think this will be massive for the crypto market. I think you're going to see a lot more countries aggressively buying Bitcoin, because the main superpowers in the world, they don't want to have a disadvantage in anything. It could be it could be literally anything. If one of the countries doing it, the others will do it as well. So if you start seeing America selling the gold reserves to buy Bitcoin, then very likely that China and Russia is also going to do the same thing. India and all these other countries. China's already talking about accumulating Bitcoin. I think some big Hong Kong company or institution actually purchased their first Bitcoin a few days ago. And another good thing is, hold on, the IMF calls Bitcoin digital gold. So now Bitcoin has established itself as digital gold, meaning that these guys are going to very likely add it to their portfolio, which is I think is massive. So adds Bitcoin to global money tracking like gold or land. If you buy or sell Bitcoin across borders, it's tracked like trading property. So Bitcoin has more or less established itself in the broader picture, because a lot of these big money, they don't really take Bitcoin serious. So when the IMF is calling them digital gold, and the White House is supposedly going to sell gold reserve to buy Bitcoin, I think it brings a lot of attraction to Bitcoin itself, and that's why we're seeing an inflow in the ETFs go up. So that, we had for the past month and a half or 2 months, let's say, the net outflows for BTC was very high. Recently, the last week, we're seeing net inflows, meaning that smart money is accumulating Bitcoin. And, it's not massive amounts, but any accumulation, in my opinion, is pretty decent. What's your opinion about Maz, Lumas coin, ZKAI coin with good partners? I'll have a look into it in a bit. Just share it down below. I'm not doing coin reviews at the moment. Would you swap AGI for Oort? Would I swap AGI for Oort? I probably wouldn't, just because AGI is not a bad token. It's had a very decent pump recently. It has sold off a little bit, but the last 7 days it had a very decent pump, and I think this pump was valid or caused due to the fact that they got invited to the NVIDIA event, which is because they partnered and granted by NVIDIA. So the NVIDIA obviously supports AGI, and they got invited to that event, and that event kind of caused a little pump. It depends what your risk tolerance is. I mean, if you look at AGI is $100 million in market cap, or is only 17 or $18 million in market cap. Had a decent pump recently, $18 million in market cap. If you do want a little bit more risk on, but more returns, then obviously you go with Oort. Waiting for Oort USD AGI to drop. Yeah, that's valid. Khalid, I appreciate the £10 as well. GMX Rug Mubarak. Yeah, so those of you guys that held this token, I'm pretty sure this project has rug pulled, because the market cap is supposedly zero. They've deleted their Twitter now. So it's very, very likely that this project or the account has been suspended. Maybe it was all the people that held GMRX. They probably reported that account and it got suspended. So this project has more or less been ruled. So if you do hold this token, I would try to get rid of it as soon as possible, because if your Twitter is suspended, that means that your community is reporting you for scams, because otherwise you're not just going to get reported like that. Can Oort 20x easy? Look, nothing is easy. I don't like people using the word easy, because easy is nothing in this world is easy. But yes, I do think Oort has the potential to do a 20x. I mean, if you look at their recent development, let's go on, is over here. So they're going to be launching a launchpad in Q2, which is around the corner. This is, the launchpad's a 100% open platform for decentralized data collection, build for your community, by the community. So here's what you do. Launch your own data collection tasks, design custom token incentives for your data contributors, either Oort token, or you can create your own token on the Olympus on the blockchain. So ultimately what this does is it boosts on-chain activity for Oort. So, if me and you can launch, a data collection tasks, and my community, you guys go and do those tasks, I earn money, you guys get the tokens in return, or you get Oort tokens, whichever you choose, obviously, and we both win. So, this is obviously going to bring a lot more engagement for Oort itself. And then, the CEO is headed to Abu Dhabi today, honored to be invited by the University of, that's probably the university in Dubai, to join the AI research department. Excited to spend the next few days to connect with the Binance friends. So obviously, we know that the BNB chain and Max Lee, or the CEO of Oort, is very close. They know each other, they work together. And he says big things are coming, which, we don't know. I mean, if we could get a Binance listing, it could be anything. I do think at some point this year, or at some point, or we'll get a Binance listing. I mean, if you provide the storage, or you're the main storage provider for that chain, it's very likely a listing isn't far off. So let's see what they got in store. But these guys are consistently developing, and that's kind of playing off in the price action. Now, one thing you guys do have to keep in mind, there's been a lot of bot activity on a lot of these projects. So if you go over here, just a few days ago, the sentiment for Oort was very bullish. It was like 90% bullish, but now we're seeing a lot of bot manipulation. So I don't know who it is, but someone is creating a bunch of bot accounts and then spamming bearish on this chain. I mean, how does this make sense? If the project has only 6.7 followers, it has double that, more than double the votes. So clearly there's a lot of bot manipulation happening. This actually has happened with Brickken as well. We're seeing this across multiple projects on CoinMarketCap. So don't get phased by this. This is mostly bot manipulation. I think Brickken as well. Brickken had the exact same thing happen to them as well. So you guys can see the Brickken as well. See the bots has taken over. I don't get how CoinMarketCap has allowed this. They just let bots vote, and most of the bots obviously going to put bearish price action. Now maybe someone wants cheaper prices. That's why they do this. And this stuff like this can ruin sentiment. So the best thing you guys can do as anyone who actually holds Alt is very simple. All you have to do is just go on here, post bullish things about this project, and people will buy it. Post it, vote bullish, and that's it. It's just at least do your part as the community. Vote bullish, post some bullish stuff down here, like this guy has done, this guy has done. This is the kind of stuff you have to do for basic stuff. But they've also got the Haley upgrade. So, the Haley upgrade completed block, whatever that is, upgrades enables to extend its layer 1 ecosystem and allows Alt to be engaged with layer 1 activity, meaning that anyone can now build on Alt. So we're going to see a lot more on-chain activity because people are allowed or able to build on their layer 1 now, which I think is very, very positive for the project. Yeah, that's it. Michael Saylor obviously wants to buy more Bitcoin, need more oranges. So he's going to, I think he did raise, or he wanted to raise $2 billion to buy more Bitcoin. We don't know when that's going to happen, but, he will probably raise money in the next couple of weeks to buy more Bitcoin. He will most likely buy the top for Bitcoin, for the next decade, I would say. Orbit AI. I think Orbit AI is a good project. Yes, I do think it's a good project. Orbit AI is DeFi AI coin, but it is degen. You have to take that in consideration. The volume is pretty good. The market cap is fairly low. I think this project is still developing. My Solana guy in my group does talk about this quite often. So as long as they're developing and they build in, I think that's all that matters. But Orbit, in my opinion, is a good project. But it is degen because I don't think there's a docs team behind it, so you have to take that in consideration. But this is still a good project in my eyes. Declan, how you doing, bro? Swarms, VRA, Alu, hold, swap. Swarms, I'm not a fan of. VRA, is that Veracity? That's a dog shit coin, bro. You need to get rid of that shit. Yeah, bro. If you're still holding Veracity in fucking 2025, bro, you need to update in your system. You need to move on from this shit coin, bro. I mean, if this was very, very bullish, that crazy pump we had in 2023, 2024, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, then you would have ultimately seen this have a lot more, of a sustainable pump. But it didn't. It did like a 2, 3x or 4x, and that's it. So you need to move on from this shit project. There's hundreds of better projects than VRA. Same thing with Swarms. Swarms is, I'm not a fan of Swarms. I think these are degen coins. This one could make a comeback because the concept of swarm agents are good. Swarm agents are the future, in my opinion. Agents that can do multiple different things rather than just one specific task. So swarm agents are the future. So this one has a chance of recovering as long as the team is working. I don't really follow the project too well. So Altura will pump based on the fact that Alex Becker shows it. That's it. That's literally it, because they're not doing anything crazy. This pump was caused by Alex Becker. Let me just see. I haven't been following this project for a while. I used to hold this project once in a while, once in a blue. But if they're still developing, they're forming partnerships, they're developing games or whatever, then it will do well at some point. But this one's okay to hold in my opinion, because when gaming comes back around, this will pump. This has a good chance of pumping. But VRA and Swarms, I would potentially swap it for something else. Like VRA, 100%. Swarms is not too bad, but VRA has to go, bro. Like that project is dead. Between Ondo, Sue, and Ada, which one has more upside? I'll probably say Ondo's the best out of those ones, 100%. You have to get Ondo. Sue had his pump already, and he does have room to grow still, but the dilution is heavy for Sue. So obviously it will get absorbed because the trading volume is crazy. But Sue was good at 40-50 cents. Is that $2, $2.5, almost $2.5 now? So I wouldn't personally invest into this one. I'd probably go with Ondo, because if tokenization is the future, which I think it is, and it is getting a lot of on-chain, well, not even on-chain, but the BlackRock tokenization fund thing, whatever it is, some build, it's called Build. It's doing very well. It had $1 billion outflow. So, inflow, sorry. So I do think tokenization is the future. And, if you had to bet on any project in the crypto space to become the main tokenizer in the US, it would have to be Ondo, because Ondo, is close to Trump. Trump actually holds Ondo. BlackRock, they got a stable coin with Ondo. So I do think Ondo is probably the best one out of those. Ada, fuck Ada, bro. Why would you hold Ada? Fuck Ada. Serve is a good token. Serve is a good token. Serve is good. Should we change projects with poor marketing like TET and Based AI for Brickken? Bro, listen, Based AI and fucking Based AI is just a trade. I've never really held Based AI for longer than a fucking day max. Like you buy, you trade it, and move on. Like I've never recommended anyone to buy and hold Based AI, bro. That's why it's not in my top gem section. It's always been a trade. Look, you have to hold a layer one. There is some good layer ones, but I got kind of stuck with TET. So I do think it'll pump at some point, but at the moment you're not going to see bullish price action for many projects, my friend. So it does depend. Brickken is probably good. Yeah, Propbase is very active. If you look at the development for Propbase, these guys are doing some crazy work. If you look at, they've just released their roadmap, which I did share on my Twitter. So you guys need to follow me on Twitter. I shared this on my Twitter, and the roadmap looks very, very good. You have Propbase 2.0, new website. They're going to have a brand new marketing campaign, which I think is pretty good. So they've just done they've just opened up another, what's that word? Ambassador program, meaning that people can obviously sign up to shield the token. So they got their 4th ambassador round, which is pretty good because people apply, and then they can shield the token for them. They're going to get institutional tokenization done. So they're not just going to be stuck with property. They're going to expand out to other stuff, large scale, enterprise grade asset tokenization later this year. They're going to have the DeFi AI integration. So they're going to obviously do some DeFi AI stuff, so bring some AI into it as well, which I think is good. They obviously have the governance stuff, but they're going to be releasing the app, mobile app, Android, iOS, peer-to-peer lending and borrowing, which is what they kind of need to do, because they do tokenization stuff. So especially for real estate, but they are going to be on. They're going to expand out to ETH chain as well. That's going to be decent. A lot of the RWA coins are on ETH, so when ETH does well, you should see a little boost in Propbase as well. And they're also going to have new exchange listings coming as well. So these guys are good. Bricken's one of my favorite RWA coins. Brickken, shit, I can't really do Brickken. There you go. Brickken, another very, very good project. This is one of the, if you look at price action the last couple of months, this project has held up, I would say, the best. This and ATR, well, I would say Brickken held up better than ATR, but Brickken held up, really, really well in that last dump, because the community believes in the project, and when they believe in it, they're not going to sell just because of short-term price action, which is pretty good. All the tokens that got unlocked a few months ago, I think 40 or 30% of that got restaked, which is very positive. But they got the Chainlink partnership as well. So there's a lot of good things coming for them. They got the recent VC funding, meaning that they're going to have a lot more money to play with, more money to build, more money to expand the team, more money to get exchange listings. And this is very, very positive in my opinion. You have to look at projects that have funding, because this is why VC projects, even though it's not good for selling pressure, but it's good because these projects have a lot of money to play with. This is what you have to realize. You have VC funding, it means you got millions to run the project. If you're just starting from fresh, it's going to be very hard for you to unless you're selling the token, for you to stay afloat. That's why projects like Sensei, I just found out Sensei obviously sells their replicas to companies, and these guys, they've sold approximately 40,000 or 30 something, between 30 to 40,000 replicas, which is monthly payments. So for 3 replicas they pay $30 a month. For 5 to 8 or some shit, 8 replicas or 5 replicas or some shit, they pay $150 a month. So then you do the math, and they've sold over 30, or they've made over 30,000, 40,000 replicas on their platform. It means they're making good money monthly. And that's why the project is continuously looking for more developers. They're expanding the team. They're going to events. They're forming partnerships because they're making money. This is the importance of a self-sustainable project compared to one that's selling its own token to stay afloat. Sensei doesn't need to sell his own token because he's making money from the project itself, from the product that they have. Same thing with Oort. Oort doesn't need to sell the token because their company makes $10 million a year in profits. So this is some projects. Obviously, a lot of these AI agent projects, they're gonna have to sell their own tokens, especially the ones that launch on Solana. That's why you see them go up and then down just as fast, because when it cools off, everyone starts selling, including the team as well. The team will obviously have to sell to fund developments moving forward. Whereas these guys have raised money in pre-sale, private sale, whatever. They've raised millions. They have that money to play with rather than jeopardizing their own token and selling it. That's the difference between VC backed and a project that's starting fresh. And obviously, unless the CEO has millions and millions and they're starting a project, but most of them don't. So they need that VC funding. My buy me a coffee link is not working, brother, because my account got banned. So I am going to be opening up a new account, not with Buy Me a Coffee, but with another website. So that is going to get updated soon. There's going to be quite a lot of spaces left open in my private group soon. Cycle till now is more like 2017. Back then, Altseason didn't start until November. What are the odds that Altseason could start? When you say Altseason didn't start till November, that's not true. We just had narratives pumping throughout the year. Oh, in 2017? Oh, 2017 was different. If it takes till then for QT to end, or more, or even better, if QE comes, then so be it. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, it doesn't matter, because if you have to wait another year, who gives a shit? In 3 months in crypto, you can make life-changing money, like generational wealth. If you have to wait a year for that to happen, then it is fine. It doesn't matter. Now, my base case isn't that we are gonna. I do think the main pump will be sometime later this year. I think I think the market needs to price in more rate cuts, which at the moment Powell has not. He hasn't really said they're gonna, or he hasn't given the hint that they're gonna start cutting rates at the moment. He did say they are not in no rush to cut rates. We will go over the FOMC as well, because that was over a week ago for some people that wasn't obviously aware. FOMC happened, the rates stayed the same, but what the Fed done was they slowed down QT once again. So they've done it in the past where it went from, I think it was like 80 to 40, and now it's 40 or 35 or something to 5 million only. But that's the securities, the T-bills, etc. But you have the MBS, which is mortgage-backed securities. That's remaining the same. They're still getting rid of that. So it's not an end to QT because QT is still happening. However, it's a step closer to the right direction. If a lot of people say, all rate cuts are bearish, rate cuts are, the Fed is cutting rates because they're worried about something, which is true. However, if the Fed is cutting rates because inflation is coming down, and they're not cutting rates because something has broken in the system, then rate cuts are not bearish. This is what we've seen back in September. Back in September, the Fed cut rates because unemployment was going back up, so it was bearish. Yes, we pumped in the short term, but look what happened now. The market dumped to shits because that 50 rate cut was there because the Fed was worried. They did mask the data for the last, from all the way to the election. They masked the data. They lied about the data, and then all of it's coming out now. This is why the market is having a short-term contraction. We've seen a slow in the economy. Consumer spending has gone down slightly. GDP is predicted to come down from 2.2% to like 1.7%. As long as is above zero or minus, you can't go into a recession. The only time we go into a recession if you have 2 consecutive negative GDPs, which we kind of already had in 2022, meaning that, in my opinion, we've been in a rolling recession since 2022. With enough lies and manipulating the data, they've just managed, to keep this lie going to the point where once they're ready to come out of the recession, they might announce it short term and then they'll turn the printers back on, and then we'll just go into another decade or however long of economic expansion. So let's see how it plays out. But like I said, if you have to wait another year or another 6 months to make generational wealth, it doesn't matter, bro. Like, waiting, being patient is I do think you are always gonna have pumps in the market. The only question is, are these pumps going to be sustainable? Because like we had pumps in November and December, but the pumps wasn't sustainable. One little news fucking gave all the gains away that we had throughout 2023 and throughout 2024. That's the difference between something that's sustainable. If QT ended, let's say we pumped 5x on average on every project, some projects did a 10x. If some bearish news came out, we would have probably went down 20-30%. That's it in altcoins. But because QT is still here, the altcoins get wrecked even more because no one wants to be risk on when the Fed is indicating less rate cuts. Now, we are going to get way more rate cuts than projected one rate cut for the year. So guess what? The market is going to price that in at some point, meaning that they're going to get more risk on, and altcoins are going to pump. Altcoins love rate cuts because when rate cuts are here, everyone is risk on. That's why gold kind of cooled off in November, December. And then when everyone got risk off, gold is now putting a new all-time high. That's how it plays out. A lot of people have this misconception that if gold pumps, BTC has to follow, but that's not the case. Gold is a risk, a safe haven. Bitcoin isn't, not yet at least. Maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years in the future, it could be. At the moment, gold is safe haven. So when gold is pumping, it means that smart investors are scared about something, so they're going into gold. Because let's say we go into a recession, if you get into gold now, or you got into gold, 6 months ago, or down here somewhere, if gold pulls back like everything else, and it comes down to, let's say, here, you're still in profit because you bought down here. This is the whole point of safe haven. You cannot buy gold now at the top over here and think when everything cools off that you're going to be still in profits or you're going to be break even or something. The smart investors were buying gold over here back in 2023. Back in 2023, when gold broke out, this is when I was taking profits because, this is a massive signal that the Fed, well, not the Fed, but the economy and the smart investors are scared about something. And then, we had the period of time where gold really broke out. And the same thing's kind of happening now. But, the difference between now, the reason I didn't take profits in November and December was very simple. We just didn't have a sustainable pump. There's only 2 coins or 1 coin that really pumped, which is Sensei. That's it. The rest of the portfolio was up like, 2x max? It's not sustainable. Back over here, the fucking portfolio was doing 30, 40 X's in the March time, 2023, 2024. On average, every project was putting in stupid numbers, at least in my portfolio. But over here, it was like one project. So, you know, you can't really take profits prematurely, because let's say the Fed came out and said, didn't indicate less rate cuts. Guess what would have happened? We would have continued to pump in the coming months. And if you took profits early, you would have missed out on a lot more money. Cool guy, good to see you, bro. Scared that Tangent or any cold wallet because of fear of having seed phrase lead into hack. Yeah, look, you get Tangent. Tangent is seedless, my friend. Tangent is seedless. 9 million limit order on Bexy. I think it was 15 million. I think it's more than 9. I seen it earlier. It was 15 million. Skillet's good to see you. I'd rather wait another year. I need more bread to load up. Exactly, bro. This is the thing. It's like you could go through 2 years of the market, and in 3 months, you can make more money in those 3 months than you probably ever did working a job. So, you know, that's why you don't put too much money in crypto to the point where you need it to pay rent or something. I think that's stupid. I think over investing in crypto when you got a family, when you got, you know, responsibilities is stupid, because crypto is not one of those assets that's going to, it will pump at some point, but it's not going to be up, you know, up only forever. You're going to have crazy pullbacks. And if you're not, you know, if you're not managing your risk, you're going to be stuck holding some of your bags down 30, 40%, sometimes 50%, sometimes more. But the whole point is, you know, you have to have patience in this game. That's patience. If you have patience, you'll always win. A lot of people come, start their crypto journey, they hear some stories, some guy fucking made $1 million off some meme coin, you know, and they realize, oh, I could probably do the same thing. So, you know, they come in, they hold or they gamble on meme coins, and they realize there's a fucking lie. They lose a lot of money, and they don't come back. Some people invest in utility, you know, it doesn't go anywhere, and they sell their bags, and then they, you know, and then just for it to pump 2-3 months later. That's what happens. You have to have patience. When a full-blown Altseason Oort is sitting at $2, no one wants to sell. But if Oort gets to $2 and you don't sell, bro, you're fucking retarded. I mean, Oort is already up. It had a decent pump today. I think it's up 21% the last 7 days, which is very, very good. The chart was looking very, very bullish, and it had a, you know, it had a decent pump, I would say, the last couple of days. And this is continuous development. This is what happens. You guys need to start fucking voting on this, bro. Come on, let's get the votes up. I told you the bots have taken over the sentiment. Go on CoinMarketCap, press the bullish sign, put some bullish comments in the fucking in this section, and that's it. You know, what will happen is investors will come in, see the bullish comments, and then some guy will buy, bro. Your bags get pumped. Stuff like this. You have to work for your bag sometimes. But we are seeing a lot of bot manipulation on a lot of these projects, so just wanted to make people aware of that. Brickken is on Matic, now on Matic, but not a very bullish chain anymore. It should be ETH or better performance. Well, Brickken is already on ETH and BNB. It's just the more chains, the better, I guess. There's nothing wrong. The original contract is on ETH. It's not on. I don't think it's on Polygon though. It's on BNB, and it's on Ethereum. Oh, it is, yeah, multi-chain. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Having more chains, the better, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with expanding to one more chain, but the main contract is on Ethereum, which a lot of RWA coins launch on Ethereum. Yeah, it actually does not work like that. You're right. How many exits do you think was wait for Sensei before taking the projects take into account that most tokens roughly? Look, if it depends on your risk, how big is your bag? If your bag is a little bit larger, then you have to take profits a bit earlier. At least get your initials out. If you hold a small bag, then you can afford to hold a little bit longer. But let's say AI pumps for like a month, you know, you have to take your money out and move it to the next narrative, because AI is not just going to keep pumping forever. Some of the tokens will continue to pump throughout the cycle, but how do we know our tokens are going to be that? So the best thing to do is move your profits into something, you know, into the next narrative. If you see gaming has ran, AI has ran, and RWA coins are just dead, not doing anything. That means you move all your money into RWA because at some point they all pump. The money will flow to different narratives, and that's what you should do. So, I would not hold the tokens in a full bought alt season for longer than a month if if the narrative is hot. I took profits on my Aitech and AI bags and all these other AI coins I had. I took profits on all of them. I would probably say a month, because so they ran for like a month and a half, but I started taking profits after a month. Yeah, after a month, I'll probably start taking profits. But it depends. Like everyone has their own portfolio goal. So if that if we do get a normal alt season where we have end of QT has stopped, and we see a positive pump, then I would most likely take profits earlier. If we somehow get QE, then it's okay to hold longer, because when QE comes, a different level of alt season compared to just the end of QT. End of QT, you can have a very good alt season, but when QE arrives, you can buy anything you'll pump. That's the difference. What am I buying these days? I'm bringing my averages down on Propbase. So my Propbase average at one point was like, I don't know, like 6 cents or some shit, and I've managed to bring it down to 0.4 some shit, 0.4, maybe 0.38. So I've been stacking up Propbase because what I'm seeing from Propbase is continuous development. The team's very active. The CEO, he enjoys what he does. You can hear it. When you listen to his AMAs, sorry, like he gets excited when he's talking about his project. So clearly, he likes what he's doing, and he's doing a great job. He's developing roadmaps out. This is one that I've been stacking. I've been stacking Nye as well, because there's Nye, the CEO, is in talks with some major Web2 companies. So if we start seeing these guys start partnering with some Web2 giants in the data industry, then that's going to give it a nice boost. So apparently he's almost signed a contract with one of them, but he's going to be meeting the big ones, the big four, sometime this week. So if we see these guys form a partnership with one of the giants, he's going to get a lot more attention. This is one that I'm stacking up. I was buying some Oort. Oort obviously has had a decent pump recently. So, you're not going to buy something that's in green. I never like to buy stuff in green. I have been buying some Brickken as well. Brickken, very good RWA project. I'm waiting for ATR to come back down slightly more. Then I'm going to add to my bag of ATR. Aitech, I'll probably buy about 2.5 cents, probably around those regions. I'm not going to buy it just yet. If it can hold these regions again, then I'll probably stack up a little bit more AI-Tech here. But I'm waiting for it to go down like 2.5 cents around those regions. What else? Let me think. I was going to buy some OTK, but it has pumped, so I don't want to be buying green candles. But what I've seen with OTK is, as soon as gaming, even in the slightest, gets bullish, you're always going to see OTK pump. As soon as Mavia, showed some life, guess what OTK done? It pumped. It had almost a 2x, almost a 2x pump. That's a good sign for gaming projects, because Mavia did kickstart some life into gaming. G Swift pumped. Beam had a nice pump recently, and OTK pumped. Munity pumped as well, actually. So yeah, Beam had a nice pump recently. I think that's a decent pump right there, about 30-40% pump. And what else am I stacking? Let me think. I'm waiting for Sniff to bottom out. Maybe I'll buy like another, maybe another grand of Sniff. Sniff's pumping as well, actually. So yeah, I probably would. Sniff is a $1 million in market cap. Fucking extremely tiny, bro. What I like to do is, before I buy a project that's continuously going down, wait for it to base out a little bit. Couple of weeks, let it base out. It doesn't matter if you have to get it 10% higher, 15% higher. It doesn't fucking matter, especially with these low caps. I mean, if you bought here, you would have been down a shit ton over here. So you have to wait for it to base out, because why if it continues to go down one more layer and then bombs out? So, just wait for it to bottom out a couple of weeks. If you have to buy it 10, 15% higher, it doesn't matter because, if you bought over here, you would have been down almost 2x, over 2x down here. So 50%. So, I don't think the smart thing to do. Wait for project to base out and then buy a project. So, I'm going to wait for this to base out and then I'm probably going to buy a little bit more. What else am I buying, bro? I stacked up on Rio around, between 15 to 20 cents. Rio's having a very good pump. This is one of the best tokens to trade with. Rio is, as soon as the market gets bearish, it does dump a lot. You got to keep that in mind. As soon as the market gets bullish, it pumps just as much. So, it's up around 30, 40% as well from the lows. Very positive from Rio. There's a lot of people shilling this. This is always going to pump. It's one of the best coins to trade, in my opinion. But these are the ones I'm stacking. I'm just waiting for... I probably will get one more RWA coin as well. And my portfolio will be completed. I'm not going to be buying too many new coins. I'm going to be stacking on the ones I have. And then I'm going to be moving narrative to narrative. So, I'm going to have money on the side that I can use to trade specific narratives when they pump. The amount of money... that certain section of my group was making during the AI agent pump was crazy. People were making 30, 40 X's in one day. QT is essentially over, so they should be bullish enough. I don't think market has priced it. QT is not over just yet. It has slowed down significantly, but it's not over yet. QT is not over. Because, QT, when you talk about QT, there's two different securities that take off. They take off the mortgage-backed securities, and they take off the other one that they cut in half, where they cut in like 80%. So they still cutting mortgage-backed securities off their balance sheet, which I think is probably one of the main ones to have a bullish economy. Or, once mortgage-backed securities start getting cut, then that's a good sign that the Fed is almost ready to start QE. The fact that they are still taking mortgage-backed securities off their balance sheet shows that they're not yet ready to fully stop QT. So, QT has not stopped. It has slowed down, but we still have some ways to go for it to fully stop. Bro, I'm not going to be looking at... Let me see if it's on here, bro. DeFi AI coin, bro. What the fuck is this, bro? This is a fucking picture of an owl, bro. Agent, now harmless DeFi. Yeah, fuck this, bro. Fuck, bro, stop shitting me shit projects like this, bro. This is a website that was made in 5 minutes. They put a picture of some gay owl waving at you. Let me see if it works. Oh, it's the GitHub shit, man. I hate this. So they got all the codes in here. Yeah, but no, bro, look, the average person is not going to know what to do with the GitHub. You can put the codes in and see if it works, but the average person does not know what the fuck that is. So this project is not going to perform well. That's why it has 189k trading volume on Solana, which is where most of the liquidity is. If it was on any other chain, I'd understand that 180k in common market conditions, but it's on Solana and no one gives a shit about it because it's a fucking owl, bro. How much tokens? It depends on your portfolio size, my friend. I have like basically 1 million or probably a little bit more, and I have quite a lot of Sensei as well. Quite a lot. Probably like, I want to get to 20 million Sensei. I probably need another 3 million, and then my bags are full. What's my thoughts on AI tech right now? If you already have Sensei and Oort, would it make sense to AI tech? If you don't have RWA coins, then yes, it does make sense to do that. But if you're down on AI tech, then it's kind of pointless for you to sell it now at a loss. But you can get some RWA coins because most of them are in massive discounts. So it could be a good move, yes. But AI tech is different to Oort and Sensei because Sensei is AI agents, Oort is decentralized AI, layer 1, that also has AI agents. But AI tech is a deep-in project. It's GPUs and CPUs providing data or GPUs or whatever for people. So they're like two different projects. I'd rather have all three because I don't have any other deepin projects apart from AI tech in my portfolio. So I'm never going to sell AI tech. I'd rather sell something like AGI for something else because I already have Sensei and Oort for AI agents. You don't need to have too many AI agents, but you do need a deepin project in your portfolio because I think deepin will still be massive this cycle. Crypto, good to see you, my friend. 50x on a poor buy narrative happens still on the cards. I don't know about 50x, but look, when people say 50x, it depends. You can 50x your money narrative happen, of course, because if you get a 20x on your gaming projects, then even if you get a 3x for your 20x on in AI, then you've already made way more than 50x. This is what people don't realize. But if you narrative hub, the way I done it in 2023, 2024 was marvelous. I made probably close to 1,000x just in those 3-4 months narrative happened. Because instead of keeping your money into USDT after you take profits, you have to move it into the next narrative. You have to pre-fire the next narrative. You have to make a guess of which narrative is going to pump next. It's a guess, but it could work out. I mean, realistically, when gaming pumped first, it didn't matter if you got into RWA or AI. It didn't matter because AI pumped first, but RWA pumped afterwards. So even if you did a 50-50 split, you would have made good money. Now, when I took profits in March, I didn't take profits on everything. I only took profits on all my gaming projects and all my AI projects. But RWA at that point was dead. It just didn't pump as much, so it didn't make sense to get rid of those because they haven't yet pumped. When they did pump, I sold a lot of my Rio because I got Rio at fucking pennies, and then I bought more at 10 cents. Then it went to $3. So I'm not stupid to hold for fucking $10 after I've made close to almost 200x my initial bag, and then 30x my other bag, my second bag. It does not make sense to hold that long. Like one thing you guys have to control is your greed. And it shows how many people that was around 2023, early 2023, bought a bunch of projects and didn't want to sell in March because it's greed. That's all it is. You have to control your greed. Yeah, Southlex, chill. Do I think Propbase is more profitable than Brickken? I think Propbase can outperform Brickken just based on market cap valuation. But I mean, both of them are good. I mean, Brickken has 1.8k volume. I mean, Propbase has 1.8 million volume, whereas Brickken has 700k. I mean, if you just look at the exchange listings, Brickken only has Mexi and Bitmart. You look at Propbase has a lot more listings. Big Gate, Mexi, Bitmart, XT, Big X, and they're gonna get more exchange listings. So if you had to bet on any of them for more profits, I'd probably say Propbase is better, just because it's lower in market cap, has more volume, and has more exchanges. Propbase, which one is? I would rather buy both, to be honest. Good to see you, my friend. You have not yet missed it. What am I saying about Munity? Munity has been a bit quiet, but one thing, like I said, I like about Munity is it pumps with the market. So if you go on Munity over here, you can see for yourself, we got a little bit bullish. And let's say the last 7 days or whatever, Munity pumped with this current dip 19%, which I think is pretty decent for a project. As soon as gaming had any life kicked back into it, Munity pumped. It had from 13 or whatever the fuck the lows was, 12, 13, 0.01. It pumped to about, on Mexi, it went to like 0.025. So, that's more than a 2x pump. Or that's exactly a 2x. So I do think Munity is and then they are still around, and I'm pretty sure they are still active on their socials. So I think yeah, they are still active. They posted a few days ago. They're not posting any crazy partnerships or anything, but they're posting some random horses, bro, which I think is fucking good enough for now. As long as you post anything is okay, because it shows the community that you are at least active on the project. But yeah, Munity is pretty good in my opinion. I'm still holding it. I don't think I'm going to sell Immunity till at least the 50x. What's my thoughts on TARS? I'm not a fan of TARS, bro. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of TARS. And the reason I'm not a fan of TARS is it's just you have to compare projects sometimes. I could be wrong, but you know, I just have a bad gut feeling about TARS. When I see projects, and because I've been around for multiple cycles, 3 cycles, right? When I see projects in a very short period of time pay, you know, 90% of the YouTube world, that's a lot of money for them, you know, that they have to get back somehow. And I do think the way they got that money back was through selling the token aggressively. You know, I think this drop was at least 60% of the team. You know, obviously mixed with retail as well, panic sellers, whatever. But I do think the team sold a bunch of the tokens to make money back from paying all these influencers. You know, the exact same thing happened to PlaysUp. I've explained this story multiple times. PlaysUp did the exact same thing, paid 30K to a bunch of YouTubers. They showed it, had a very nice pump, and then from there, it just went on like a 6-month downtrend, slowly going back down, eventually to the point where the team just pulled the liquidity, or they just claim it got hacked and they fucking scammed, in my opinion. So they can say they got hacked, but that's definitely just the team taking more profits. And that's the difference between a good project and a bad project. In the last 3 months, if your project has not yet rugged, then they're not going to rug in the short term. How many projects? A lot of projects rugged in the last 3 months. GMRX, which was a big one, everyone was bullish on it, you know, when it first came out, and now it's rug pulled. Many projects have rugged. Thousands, millions of memes have gone disappeared, rug pulled. So you know, DCI rugged. Fucking, I think ICNX is more or less rugged. A lot of these projects are more or less rugged. There's no activity, no life into them, no developments, nothing. I'm not a fan of TARS just based off the fact that, you know, yes, it will pump at some point, but if the market does not flip bullish, let's say for the next 3 months, let's just say, and how sure are you that TARS is just not going to continuously dump while the team just keeps selling? Because they're not making money outside of crypto selling their own tokens. They don't do nothing. These guys don't make no revenue. So, you know, if they don't make no revenue and they have to keep, you know, funding their life or whatever, their team, how are they going to get that money? Is through selling the tokens. I don't know if these guys earn money or not, but you know, I don't know. If these guys earn revenue, then, you know, I could be mistaken, but I don't know if they do or not, to be honest. Have I been large caps? I've been buying some injective and some Ondo, yes. I want to get some C. I have some C, but I want to get some more at some point. I'll give DCA ranges once we go down again. I'm not going to give it now. I mean, if people have been asking for DCA ranges for the past fucking 2 months, if I gave DCA ranges, but what I realized is when I did give a DCA range, people think that that's the bottom. It's not, because some people are new to the group and they don't realize that I give DCA ranges all the time, but I tell people DCA $50 to $100 here and there. So, you know, and a lot of people don't understand that because they wasn't in the group originally. So when I give DCA ranges, they like to go all in at those ranges, and they can always just continuously go lower. That's the problem with DCA ranges. I'll give the next DCA range when I think we've bottomed out. But like I said, I am expecting Bitcoin to have one little drop before we go up again. So we are going to most likely have one more scare before everything starts going back up. Yeah, boys, hit the likes. There's 100 and something of you in the chat. We should easily get to 100 likes. I would appreciate that loads. Appreciate that, Marcel, buddy. Ahmed, good to see you, bro. YBR. I'm not a fan of YBR just because of the tokenomics. The tokenomics for this project is fucking awful, bro. It came out. I'd never liked the tokenomics ever. 72K market cap. You know, the fucking fully dilution is horrible for this project. A lot of people were shilling this. I said it's a fucking scam just based off the tokenomics alone. When you see early investors control a majority of the supply, and these early investors, there's not big VCs behind them, it's very, very likely that the project just fucking dog shit. So this, I've never really understood the hype behind it. What the fuck did he just take me to this? This project, I've never really understood the hype behind it. A lot of people were shilling it at one point, because they get paid, obviously. So the partner with Plume, massive Chainlink, pretty good. I'm pretty sure that the tokenomics was fucking awful. Let me see if I can find it. It's at 72k market cap. If the team is still active, it might be worth chucking in a few hundred and just, if it dies, it dies. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's the type of mentality you have to have with this project. It seems the team is still somewhat working. It's decent. But yeah, 72k market cap. You could probably chuck a little bit into it. At some point, it can pump. At some point, it can. Does it have any exchanges? Mexi only. I mean, Alan, I would only chuck a few hundred. Forget about it. If it rugs, it rugs. If it doesn't, you can make some decent returns. So yeah, I have no RWA in my portfolio. Suggest me an RWA coin. I would grab both of those. Grab both. 50-50. Griffin. Bro, Griffin is a sticky one, bro. Solana was shilling the shit out of this because they were doing some basic AI agent stuff. Now people realized, I don't think it's a pump and dump. I do think they are still working. When you say pump and dump, bro, if you that's a retarded way to think, pump and dump, because that the crypto market is all pump and dumps. They pump aggressively and they dump aggressively. Anything on Solana will pump aggressively and then dump aggressively as well. So you could class anything on Solana as pump and dump. So anything the last 3 months was pump and dumps. So that's not really a smart way to think. I feel like that's just retarded retail way to actually observe something is pump and dump. Like some things are clearly pump and dumps, but just because some coin has gone down the highs, it doesn't mean it's a pump and dump. It just means the market has obviously took a massive hit. The entire market has. Now, if the market was bullish and specific coins were just pump and dumping, then yes, they are pump and dumps. But if the entire market has gone down at the same time, you can't just say 99% of cryptos are as pump and dump, because that's what they all look like the last 3 months. So you have to be careful how you word stuff, because it doesn't make you seem very intelligent. Just makes you sound like one of those retail investors who only look at price action alone. I do think Griffin can make a comeback, but like I said, the current, I don't even think it's worth this market cap. It should be worth 10 to 20 million, but he has good volume. It most likely will recover at some point. It probably will recover at some point. They can also go lower when Bitcoin goes lower. So it's up to you. If you're gonna buy any like those specific RWA coins, just buy Orbit. I think Orbit is probably the best one in my opinion. 10 million. Just look how he's been performing the last month. Doing very, very well. Compared to, you look at Griffin's chart, Griffin's not been doing as well as Orbit. Obviously, Orbit's a lot lower in market cap. Let's go in the last month. That looks nothing like Orbit. Look at Orbit's chart the last month. Looks a lot better, doesn't it? So, if you're going to buy anything, wait for Orbit to have a pullback and potentially get this one, because this has 9 million trading volume. Team's still active on this. They're building regularly. This has 10 million, but has 4 times the market cap. So a lot of interest is not in this project anymore. What percentage of your portfolio do Oort and Sensei make? Not much. My portfolio is massive from high caps and Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think my Oort might be worth like 5-6%. My Sensei is probably like 3%, 2% or some shit. But it depends. I got 2 portfolios, my friend. If you look at it from the DGen portfolio, like my low cap portfolio, I would say Oort is about 12%, 11%, between 10, let's say 10 to 12%. Sensei is about 6 to 7. I would say around those regions. Yeah. When do I expect the cycle to end? Look, that's a very good question, Didla, because we have to look at it from two perspectives. If we get a mini bear market in the next, well, let's say half of this year, then it's very likely that we're going to have an extended cycle into 2026. So if we go through a phase in the short term where we actually get a massive contraction in the economy, everyone's screaming recessions, there's major signs of recessions, and let's say we even go into a mini recession, then guess what happens? We're going to have to, spend 6 months to a year in a low bear market. And then, by that time, I don't even think it would be a year, but let's say 6 months, the Fed comes to the rescue, and then we go into, massive economic expansion. The bull run could last a little bit longer, but it makes sense, in my opinion, to have a good euphoria phase this year, and then go into a recession in 2026. I think that makes more sense. Or maybe let's say sometime in 2026. It doesn't have to be Q1 2026. It could be Q2 26, Q3 2026. It could be an extended cycle if we don't go into a crazy mania phase in the next couple of months, let's say. If Bitcoin just chops here for another month or two, or slowly grinds up, then the cycle could be extended. It's hard to predict which way it's going to go because it highly depends on the Fed itself. If the Fed, if the economy goes to shits in a short period of time, then guess what's going to happen? The Fed is going to come to the rescue. They're going to start doing emergency rate cuts. They're going to look to end QT a lot quicker because the Fed did announce and they did say that we are noticing, liquidity issues in the market. So because of that liquidity issue in the market, they've slowed down QT, which means there's going to be more liquidity in the markets. And, the average person will have a little bit more money in their pockets. And, the only thing the Fed is scared about is the tariff inflation. So, he did say, Powell said that they're trying to figure out the difference between normal inflation and tariff inflation, because obviously they're two different things. Inflation is caused by multiple different things, wage inflation, other stuff. Tariffs just causes short-term price to go up. That's it, of specific things. So, Trump is not going to put a tariff on every single fucking import and export that comes into the country. He's going to put on specific things. If those things don't contribute to inflation, then it's not going to fucking affect inflation at all, is it? If he does it on important stuff, then it's going to affect inflation a lot more. So we have to see on the 2nd of April. So you have to expect volatility on the 2nd of April when these tariffs go live. So it could be a case where we have some short-term price action before the end of the month, because everyone starts selling off into the tariff news, and then Trump comes out, announces some tariffs, and then we have, most likely we'll have a dump in the market in the short term, and then something happens where Trump, cancels the fucking or delays them or some shit, because he's been doing this for the past 2 months now, where he says he's going to put tariffs on the certain countries, and then he delays them, and then adds them back, and delays them and adds them back. So far, he hasn't really implemented tariffs on anything at the moment. He's been given a lot of talk. So he said, this is his terms. As long as the fentanyl levels go down in America, then he's not going to put tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. So it's like his terms and conditions. Once those terms and conditions are met, the tariffs will get lifted. But guess what happens? The tariffs causes the Fed to have worries about inflation, so they're less likely to cut rates. So what he's doing is he wants rates to come down. The tariffs is giving the Fed reason not to do it, but he's at the same time he's causing a crash in the economy through Doge, because Doge is cutting government spending, and government stimulus is what is kind of stimulating the stock market. The reason the stock market continuously went up through 2024, 2023 was because the government spending was through the roof. And now that Trump has stepped into office and is starting to cut that government spending, what you're seeing is you're seeing a drag in GDP, And when GDP slows down, people start calling recessions everywhere. But, you know, if it goes from 2.2 to 1.7, that's not really a recession. Yes, it's gone down, but, you know, it's not negative. It's still positive. 1.7 for the year is okay. It has, obviously, is a slowdown, but it's not recession territories. So I don't know how people be spamming these words. Of course, there's always going to be something to be worried about. That's the market. The market, every single cycle, will have something to, it will give you something to be worried about. In the grand scheme of things, the way that the liquidity market works is you will pump, you know, the market will pump. You're going to go through the mania phase. Some people, the smart people are going to sell. The greedy people are going to keep holding their bags, wanting more. And then they're going to be end up holding their bags into the next cycle. Maybe, maybe not, they will learn their lesson. This is how the markets will always work because human psychology never changes. I guarantee you, if Alt goes to $1, there's going to be fucking 5,000 people calling for $2, and they're not going to sell. Everything's going to dump, and then you're going to get fucked, and then you're going to learn maybe the hard way next cycle. Some people have to go through that phase in order to learn, but you know, I do think the overall goal is bullish because in the short term, what Trump is doing is obviously bearish. It's causing it's causing a drag in GDP. It's causing a crash in crypto stock market. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, they do have to refinance the debt, which is, you know, around the corner. So I don't know how much, I think it's like 6 to 7 trillion that they have to refinance. So they have to get the lowest yield possible. So they have to get the yield curve down, or the 10-year yield down, or the 2-year yield down, sorry, as low as possible. So then they can refinance the debt cheaper. So that's what Trump is doing at the moment. So let's see how it all plays out. You know, you are going to have short-term uncertainty, but the grand scheme of things is going to be bullish. What about Plume? Plume is a very good project. Yeah, Southflex, you're a real one. That's why, bro. Declan, my friend, good to see you. Boy, smash the like button right now. Yeah, look, I would potentially help you guys take profits, but you have to keep in mind everyone has their own goal. And like I said, you have to have a realistic goal. If your portfolio is 5K, don't be asking for 1 million, bro. That's retarded. You know, if your portfolio is 50K, you can ask for 1 million. If your portfolio is 10K, you can ask for 300K, whatever. Don't have fucking 5 to 10K and hope you're gonna make 1 million. That's not realistic. You're gonna become a bag holder. There's always gonna be new cycles. The most money I've ever made is in the bear market, not in the bull market. You make good money in the bull market, but the most money you make is in a bear market. So if you can make 200 to 300K off your 10 to 20K, whatever this cycle, guess what you can do? You can turn your 200 to 300K to millions in the next cycle. That's how I done it, and that's how you should do it as well. Don't try to chase everything in one cycle, because that's when greed takes over, and that's when, you know, you're very likely going to keep holding your bag and become a bag holder. Because getting rich does not have to happen in 2 to 3 years. It could take 5 years, 6 years. It doesn't matter. You know, if you want to get rich quick, what I would do is fucking go gamble on some meme coins. Bika, is that a meme coin? I'm sure that's a meme coin. The people watching this paying attention to the space, bearish times, we already do. Yeah, exactly. That's also true as well. The people that's in this chat right now, you're in this because, you know, you're better than, I would say, a majority of retail investors. Most of them left crypto fucking months ago. The people that, you know, if you go on Twitter now, Twitter is probably one of the most weirdest places you could probably go, because you're going to hear half the people be bullish, and they're bullish because they just, you know, if you're going to take advice of anyone on Twitter specifically, scroll back, go look at their timeline. There's people that capitulate or turn bearish in fucking 4 hours before bull posting, you know, like a few hours before turning bearish. You go look at the history of that person. Is he reliable? Don't just look at, you know, one post where some guy has said he called this, he called that. Go look at the history. You know, check how reliable they are. A lot of people's sentiment shifts of one post. It's crazy because of bearish price action. People don't realize a lot of these Twitter shillers or big Twitter accounts, they like to engagement farm. You know, if when the market is bearish, you're gonna hear a bunch of people scream 50K Bitcoin, 60K Bitcoin. Why? Not because they believe it, because they just want an engagement farm. They want to make some grow their account. That's what they like to do. You know, if you when everyone's bearish and you start bear posting, your post gets a lot more attention. But yeah, all the people that's in here right now, you are doing the right thing. SKR, bro, listen, this is anyone who keeps asking me about the fucking DGen coins, like, what are DGen coins? I told you to put less than 1% of your portfolio into these projects. Why are you asking about fucking SKR, Tony? SKR is a DGen coin, you know, and it's not been doing too bad, but it's not really been, it's been holding up fairly well. So, you know, it looks like it's kind of leveled out the last month. Could be the bottom. But just go, the best thing to do is just go on the Twitter. If they're developing, then yes, you know, it doesn't matter. If they're not developing, then you could just sell it and move on. But it looks like these guys are still developing. They're making AI agents now for the, you know, is that they want to, all these gaming projects are now branching out to AI, and that's what these guys are doing as well, branching out to AI, which could be good, could be not. But follow this guy over there. This is the CEO of fucking SKR. Somehow he has 100k followers. I don't know how. But this guy is the CEO of SKR, and he makes a lot of posts regarding the developments of the project. So, you know, I think just follow this guy, see what he's doing. I haven't really been following it too much. This is DJ, bro. I just chuck him wherever. If he dies, he dies. If he doesn't, he doesn't. How bad do you think the potential recession could be? Is it going to be as bad as the recession is already? I think we've already been in a recession, bro. It's just that you get periods of the market where everyone gets scared of a recession, but most of the time it's just a contraction in the economy. You know, if you look at down here, let's go look at the where's the stock market, bro? You look at the stock market, you always have contractions in the economy. So in 2023, you know, in this period of time, a lot of people was screaming recession as well over here in this period of time. And guess what happened? We had a short-term contraction in the economy. Everyone was screaming recession. Everyone was nervous. And then what happened? We continued to go up. This dump mainly happened, I think it was because one of the banks collapsed. You know, banking collapses are another thing that could cause the economy a lot of harm. And the reason he shot back up because the Fed injected 500 billion into the economy to save these banks from collapsing. So, you know, and everyone was screaming the R word, the recession. And then we had the exact same thing over here in the July, August period where everything started dumping and everyone started calling recessions again. And the reason this happened was, you know, it wasn't because anything specific, it was just because of the Japanese carry trade. And now we're having the exact same thing now. We're having a contraction in the economy where GDP has slowed down and people are scared that we are going into a recession, which I don't think we are in the short term, just because, you know, there's a lot of data that suggests we're not in a recession. One of them is initial claims. You look at initial claims, it's been consolidating in the same range for the last 2 years, let's say 3 years. When initial claims goes above 300k, you know, when it goes around these regions, then it's a recession. So every single time we've had a recession, initial claims started shooting back up above 300k. You guys can see over here, and then it explodes up. You know, so when you start seeing initial claims above 300k, that is a sign that a recession has happened. Unemployment is obviously only 4.1%, so it's not that high. And then you look at the fuck is this? Oh, this right here, right? You look at the ISM, purchasing manufacturing index, or the, you know, whatever the manufacturing index, it's not going down, it's trending higher. You know, every single time we had a recession, the 2008, 2009 crisis, guess what happened? It was down like this. This is trending higher, not lower. So, you know, we had this crazy drop right here. Exact same thing over here. This was another recession, fucking, you know, the 1980s, or I think it was 1980s. We had another recession them time, and you know, so this is a good indicator to see if we are in a recession. Initial claims, unemployment, There is specific things that are showing a slowdown in the economy. One of them is the credit card debt. If you look at that credit card debt, it is at all-time highs, and people are not looking to get more credit card loans or whatever you want to call them, because they don't want to spend no more money, which the consumer confidence is very low, and that's what's more or less causing the drag in GDP. Now, Trump did say that, if they get a recession, he doesn't mind, but do you really think Trump is going to go into, even if he does, he's going to go to a scapegoat of just blaming Biden. But I don't really think Trump wants to go into a recession. But what he's doing, it could lead to some sort of crash in the short term at some point. So you have to keep that in mind. Do you think we'll have another dip in BTC before a lot of liquidity is sitting? I do think it's possible, yes, because like I said, there is a lot of liquidity sitting at 70k. Now that changes every single day, so you do have to keep that in mind. Sometimes the liquidity sits there, and Bitcoin or some bullish news comes out. Guess what happens? They remove that liquidity and they move it higher. So you have to keep an eye on that liquidity every day because it changes. Sometimes the liquidity is full green. Sometimes you see, it's slightly green. When it's slightly green, it means people have taken their order out. So yes, there is a lot of liquidity sitting in this region right here, or in this region over here, let's say. But you have to keep an eye on it every day because the liquidity gets removed or moved higher, regularly every single day, like I said, when the market opens. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. If he stays full green forever or for a while, then it's very likely we will visit the low 70s to attack that liquidity and then most likely have an aggressive bounce up like we did in August. So let's say we had the massive crash and then to down here and then straight reverse back up to around 80k, and then will trend back higher. Softflex, good to see you, bro. Are you leaving now? Yeah, I mean, look, if you're buying now, you're gonna make minimum a 10x, bro, minimum. Yeah, I would say that there's not really no rush now. If you take just one project narrative RWA, what would it be? If I had to take one narrative, I'll probably pick AI and RWA. Those are the best narratives so far. AI has the most, I think it has the most, what's that word I'm looking for? Dominance in terms of altcoins in the crypto space. Percentage dominance, how much money is being held in those sectors. AI is the top one. So I would probably pick AI and RWA. Those are, I wouldn't really want to pick one because crypto doesn't work like that where only one thing pumps. They all pump, they all take turns. So if I had to only pick two, I'd pick AI and RWA just because gaming has just been so dead. You have to find them in the bear market, bro. You can't find them now when we're like supposedly in the bull run, which we are, but we're not at the same time. But you have to find them, you have to find those projects in advance. You don't buy them now. A lot of the virtuals and the mantras and all these other coins, it's easier to find them in the bear market. If you bought anything that was decent during the FTX crash, throughout 2023 to early 2024, you would have made hundreds of X's. Or even through 2023, you would have made hundreds of X's. Fucking Via did 100x in the space of a couple of months when AI took off. That was literally pennies on the dollar during the FTX crash. You could have bought shit during the FTX crash, you would have made some money. If you bought anything decent, then ultimately you would have made a lot of money. That's the difference. Now, at this stage in the market, to make a 50 to 100x on one specific coin is quite difficult. Because, like if you look at the bear market, a lot of these coins die out completely. The team abandons it, the liquidity gets pulled, and you realize most of these are rock pools and they never come back. But you have to look at the next trend that you think will be the next big thing. That's how you catch them in the bear market. So RWA will always going to be around. RWA was fuck all in 2022. No one really cared about it. It was just a narrative, right? But look how big RWA is now. Everyone wants to tokenize. So if you bought anything back in 2022, during the FTX crash for RWA, you would have made hundreds of X's. So, it depends. Sometimes I would say virtuals and mantra are like, you can't really compare the whole market to those two. Those are like special cases. Sometimes, there's a few coins that just do outperform the whole market by a mile. And those two are one of those. Casper was like that in the bear market. But you're not going to get, that's like 1 in a million, bro. It's going to be hard to catch those ones. Fallow's decent. Zebek, I haven't looked into it, bro. I'm not a fan of Red Belly, bro. I feel like this just too dodgy. I've never seen no proof of the on-chain billions of fucking tokenization. It's just too many red flags. If you have 1 billion tokenized, why the fuck are you only on Mexi? Why are you not on the big exchanges? How have you just only launched on Mexi? It doesn't make sense. So it's a bit scammy for me. It's weird. I think Orbit is decent, yes. I think Orbit is decent. Yo, did I? Virtual started pumping in October 2024, but I get in the bear market, it's a lot easier to do. Yeah, look, to catch virtuals, you have to catch the narrative. I believed in a Sensei for the AI agent shit because I did think that LLMs were getting boring, and the next big thing was AI agents. So that's why I got into Sensei, because they ultimately was AI agents pretty much. So I did catch the narrative in advance, but I looked into virtuals back in fucking January and February 2023. But this is one thing that I often make the mistake on is if my other coins are pumping, I don't really look into other projects that I want to buy, because if my current coins are pumping, there's no need for me to buy any other tokens in that same narrative, because I'm already holding large bags in them. You see my point? So that's why I faded it. I just completely forgot about it in the bear market. But yeah, Virtuals was a good one because and another thing was like AGI was already AI agents, so it makes no difference, if you. But the thing is like Virtuals did make sense just based on the fact that you could just launch your own AI agents, which is the same shit as Pump Fund. Pump Fund was massive. So, if you looked into it properly, which I didn't obviously, if you looked into it properly, it made perfect sense to get into it. GLQ, nah, I think GLQ is dead, bro. It's dead. Like GLQ is, you have to move on from certain projects, and I think GLQ is one of them. This, in my opinion, is like a dead project. This was good once upon a time, like down here in fucking 2022 times, 2023 times. But now, I wouldn't really buy it. I used to hold this. I made good money on this, but in terms of GLQ, bro, fuck that, bro. I wouldn't get into it. They just like they do what most projects do when they die. They just branching out to any fucking hype they can catch on to. Create dApps, launch your own coin, build bots, and design AI agents. Come on. When this first came out, it was a no code, developer for dApps. That's why it was good. You could build no code dApps on this platform. Now launch your own coins, basically like an AI agent launchpad, like a meme coin type of shit. Build bots and design AI agents. I'm not a fan of these projects that try to jump onto the bandwagon because everyone is doing it now. I don't like that type of stuff because it just shows they're just trying to do anything to remain, what's that word, but relevant. So I mean, just look at the price action. It hasn't really done shit for the past year. You could say when we had the little pump, it did like a 2x, 3x. But I wouldn't really buy this project anymore, my friend. It looks dead to me. If you stay in the space for long enough and pay attention, then good money will be made. Yeah, if you stay in space long enough. Most people don't. That's the thing. They capitulate early. especially when you invest into altcoins, is nerve-wracking because your investment, your money can go down 30, 40%, 50%. But then, if when you see the pump, you realize that yes, it can go down, but it'll go up at some point as well, as long as you invested into good projects. Shadow, good to see you, brother. I'm all right, yeah. If you look at GMRX, whatever you want to call it, right? This is one thing that you have to. When I say don't catch falling knives, this is a perfect example. This is a falling knife that just continuously going lower. A lot of people was, if you were bullish on this, you would have bought this here and thought, I was consolidating for like a week. I'll probably buy it here because it's holding, and then what? It just went even lower. So if you don't ever catch falling knives, it's dangerous. Just wait for it to base out. Even if you have to buy it 20% higher, who gives a shit? It's better than going down 50% a week. Has the potential to go down 50% than you buy something 20% higher. Yeah, it's like finding a meme coin exactly. It's hard to find those ones. A lot of people didn't even know virtual existed up until it was just pumping like 10x in like a fucking week. That's when a lot of people thought it was. A lot of it had to do with FOMO, and like stuff like virtuals is like once in a blue moon because it was at the right time, and the narrative got so popular at the right time while it was pumping that it became the main token. Like there was nothing special about virtuals. It was just a pump fund version of AI agents, and AI agents was the main topic at that point. That's all it was. And then 10 other fucking pump fund AI agents came out. And obviously, but virtuals were the only one that really pumped. And then you realize that just having a pump fund version of fucking AI agents is just stupid. And then people realize that when everything dumps and they go to shits, just look at virtual's chart right now. There's just nothing special about it. I still think it's overvalued for what it does. But the good thing about this is the revenue sharing. I think it's pretty good revenue sharing. I'm surprised, the big exchanges have yet to list this, which is weird. I think Aitech can still do a 10x, yes. 10 to 15x possible, yes. Very possible. Just because I think Deepin itself is dead. You have to look at the top Deepin projects, which is Render. Render's just been dead, bro. And it's just that Deepin has just been fully dead. And that's this was when, let's say from over here, this is when Deepin really took off. So far, we ain't seen this, bro. I mean, you look at it for the last year. Yes, he did a little pump in November, December times, but this compared to this is like worlds apart. It's like a tiny little fucking bounce. So, you have to wait for Deepin to take off for Aitech to really do well. At the moment, Deepin has just been, even though Deepin is so important because everything that we use requires GPU, they just haven't had the attention just yet. Just because Nvidia has been taking a shit lately. Even though Nvidia's earnings has been good, the stock has just plummeted just because of DeepSeek. DeepSeek kind of ruined or slowed down the AI hype. And now, AI will always be around. You have to catch the next one, which I think the next hype could be either ASI or robotics. So, if you start seeing, because if you look at Nvidia is making fucking robots now. They just made some Star Wars robot the other day, and it was pretty interesting. Moving around, doing the robot shit. That's where the next narrative for AI could take off. So, I am looking for some robotic coins, AI coins. At the moment, there's fuck all. I think Oki, whatever the fuck is this the only one, but the vesting schedule for this is so ass that there's no rush to buy this. This will just continuously go lower because how shit the vesting schedule is. So wait for this to bottom out, wait for it to dilute some more. At some point, it could be worth a bag. Appreciate it, guys. I am gonna get off now, anyways, but 1 hour and a half, fucking more than enough, bro. Maybe good idea to add one high conviction robotics ASI. I do think I think AI gaming is also going to be the future. I think with gaming and AI, it's going to make gaming a lot easier. I do think So, I think AI gaming is a good one. There's quite a lot coming out recently. ASI, I think Fetch has done it. We need to see another project do it. That could be a good narrative to get into because it goes from LLMs to AI agents to ASI. So ASI could be the next thing. And then robotics is another one that, you've seen a lot of fucking companies or big institutions make robots nowadays. China's making crazy robots that can do fucking backflips and shit. I will have a look at Oort and Sensei, which sounds interesting. I think Undo is way ahead of RWA area. I also have Propbase on my watch list. Yeah, so you definitely need to look into Oort and Sensei. So a lot of people kind of don't understand Oort, so I will go over it in a very short period of time. Oort is 60% catered to miners, so is a project that needs adoption for miners. And from the first time I covered this project, it had around 30k nodes, and that was like, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago, let's say. Now is more than double that node. It's at 75k nodes, almost damn near, across 118 countries. So the nodes are obviously growing, meaning that miners are adopting it. They just keep doing crazy stuff, and because it doesn't have the crazy shillers shilling it just goes on. I mean, just this alone is massive. You have this alliance with 8 different projects, including IONET, Oasis Protocol, and some of these other ones, and everything is centered around the Oort token. So everything that gets used on this alliance in terms of on-chain activity or whatever it is all used through the Oort token. They just gave these fuckers $1 million in grants, some security shit. But these guys make a lot of money, and when you look into it, you're going to be very, very surprised. I mean, they got a massive presence in China. You look at this exchange, and let me see if I can find it more. This exchange over here, which they listed on, it has same Jing shit. I don't know. This more. I can't find it, but it's one of these the biggest data exchange in China. That's what the data hub is listed on, and through that they've managed to win some crazy awards in China, or they've helped a company, do some crazy AI training, and that company won awards, and they gave a shout out to Oort. So yeah, this is a very good project. It's also backed by Google and Microsoft, so they've got grants from Google and Microsoft as well, which is massive because even though the grants are pennies, even though I think the CEO said that they've got a grant from Microsoft, but it's pennies to them because they make $10 million a year. It doesn't really make sense if they get like 300k whatever in grants from Microsoft. It's but pennies to them. They make that all the time. So, but yeah, you guys need to vote for this shit as well. So with the recent upgrade, or you can basically choose where or the next bridge will be either on Solana and Ton or the Ethereum layer 2s. So maybe spend like 10 or 20 or whatever the fuck it is, wherever you want to invest, and choose which which one you want to do. So far Solana and Ton is winning. So if all of you guys fucking put 100 or which is like $2-3 into Solana and Ton, which I think is pretty good, you're gonna see some decent price action as well. So go and vote for this shit. Go vote Solana and Ton. I think Solana and Ton is good. Have I found my Binance? Bro, there's plenty of Binance coins. Hella Binance coins in my thingy. I don't need to have a specific Binance one. I need to have a base one, base only coin. But Binance, bro, there's fucking plenty of coins on Binance. Geo, I don't know what the fuck that is. Geode. Fuck is this, bro? This shit looks ass. Yeah, this is ass, bro. It's like a stable coin that's going up slowly. Fair play to it. Oh, this is robotics. Powering the future of robotics. Oh, interesting. I appreciate this one. Big E32. Yeah, this could be interesting, this one. Minus countries. Oh, 80% of revenue used by... Yo, that's crazy. No wonder it's on a steady climb up. Damn. Came out in 2023, and it's just been slowly going up. It's impressive, that is. It's on fucking Polygon. That's surprising. I'll look into this one. This was interesting. I like this. You think Alt can struggle because their ties to China? 90% of all nodes are in China. Are you sure that 90% of all nodes are in China? I think that's even better, to be honest. Because once the Chinese get what's it called? Once they start noticing Alt, and China is... The rumors are that China is going to make crypto legal, and there's 15 trillion or $30 trillion sitting in the bank accounts of Chinese people. So if that money, even if 3 trillion of that money starts flooding into the crypto market, we're all having a strong presence there. It's going to be a lot of buying pressure for all. I mean, if you looked into back in 2023, there was a period of time where all the Chinese coins were going parabolic. So if you get one of those again, all will do very well. I don't think 90 plus of the nodes are in China, though. That doesn't even make sense, because it literally says across 119 countries. China is one country, so I don't really believe that's true, Mugen. I don't know where you got that fact from, but China does have... I mean, there's quite a few nodes in China, that's for sure. But I think there's nodes all over, because some of the nodes are companies. How everything's not run in China, bro? But everything runs in China. What does that even mean? The guy that the CEO is a teacher or a fucking lecturer in Harvard University, or one of the top universities. So it's not... everything's not run in China. They're run across multiple different countries. I don't know where you got that fact from, Mugen, but I think that's bullshit. I don't think all the nodes, 90% of the nodes, are in one country, bro. It doesn't even make sense. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna get off now, bro. It's been too long. 1 hour 30 minutes. Yeah, that's more than enough. I'll see you guys in the next live stream. I'll probably be live, I don't know, in a few days, or when some event actually happens. Otherwise, it's time to get off, bro. Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.